Welcome to Into the Night. I'm Nari, your guide on today's excursion down a twisted path. Be careful not to get lost. Be it dark or light, it's easy to lose your way. Are you ready? Then let's begin. The last envelope on Earth. He'd loved her his whole life, and nothing else mattered, as Ellis McHenry stared out the window. He only hoped she understood now at this late date what she meant to him. If she'd said the word, he would have traded places with her. Any hint that she returned his love would have kept him firmly rooted next to her, had she chosen to remain. When they were children, Ellis didn't believe Glory Wilkerson suffered from the same cooties that plagued every other girl on the planet. Glory was different, wild, free, and headstrong. She was the type of girl who left an impression. Much like the feral horses she loved to draw, Glory Wilkerson could not be tamed. It only made him love her more. That seems like 1,000,000 years ago. If only we could go back in time. Ellis hung his head. He knew wishful thinking solved nothing. He only hoped at this late date that his words meant something to her. He stared out the window, waiting for the inevitable to happen. Feeling overwhelmed, his mind dully watched what his heart couldn't grasp. Memories played in his thoughts as he blankly stared towards the calamity about to occur. When Ellis was 5 years old, he and his older brother Silas drove across town to the pumpkin patch and maze. He practically bounded up and down the entire way from the house to the car, and then from the parking lot to the venue. He had reason to be excited. He'd never been to the maze. His mother feared he was too young in the past years, so she firmly put her foot down against it. Perhaps more exhilarating was that he would be hanging out with his big brother. He adored Silas, and it made him feel older knowing he was in the company of a 17-year-old. Better yet, Silas didn't treat him like a little kid. He talked to him like he was a peer. That was a far cry from how his parents, Jason and Emma McHenry, treated him. His other two siblings, Sarah and Malachi, 12 and 10, acted as though he was a nuisance, and they distanced themselves as far as possible from him, especially on outings. Silas gave Ellis a sense of worth, and for that, he'd always be grateful. Somewhere among the stalks of corn and the intricate path between the entrance and exit of the maze, Ellis stumbled upon Glory Wilkerson. He swore she was an angel or a forest nymph from a storybook the first time he laid eyes on her. She wore a flowering white dress and had a sunflower over one ear. I forgot everything else. The maze, Silas, everything once I saw her.
Have you been here before? I don't think I've seen you before. Do you want me to show you the way out? I know this maze by heart.
Dumbfounded, with butterflies taking flight in his stomach, Ellis stared up at Silas.
Is it okay if we follow her?
Sure, buddy. That will give us more time to pick out the best pumpkins.
Is that your name, Buddy? No, my name is Ellis. This is my big brother Silas. He just calls me Buddy, but that's not my real name. Oh, well, my name is Glory Wilkerson. I'm 5 years old. I'm 5 years old, too. Come with me.
She took him by the hand and led him through the maze like an expert. Silas raised his eyebrows and smirked to himself, realizing how captivated his little brother was with his new friend. He loved and respected Ellis too much, however, to tease him or make fun of him in the way many older siblings would. The bond between the brothers was closer than the 12-year age difference might have led others to believe. Silas always did protect my feelings as well as he could. He knew how much Glory meant to me from that day on. Too bad he died in a car accident less than 5 years later. As they grew up, they remained inseparable friends. And in high school, they almost became a couple. Glory resisted the idea of being chained to any other person, however, and crushed Ellis's heart when she backed out of their date the night of their junior prom. Wounded, Ellis spoke very little to her after that. But by the end of their senior year, they worked on rebuilding the friendship they'd shared for so long. Unfortunately, both had plans that took them to opposite ends of the country, and their reunion was too little, too late. Throughout their college days, Ellis and Glory kept in touch as best they could, but he sensed a difference in their relationship. His feelings never changed. In fact, they became stronger during their separation. Not a day went by when he didn't think about Glory, and he called her as often as he could, without giving the appearance of smothering her. Glory, however, always the free spirit, found college to be a toy box of new experiences. Swept up with the freedom to be whoever she wanted and whenever she wanted to, she put aside the life she lived prior to this grand adventure she found herself on. She still cared for Ellis, but she didn't pine for him the way he did for her. Ellis sensed the difference, and it threw him into a depression. The demands of earning a degree, then advanced degrees, and establishing a career kept Ellis from traveling home often, and most of the time when he did return, Glory was away on trips of her own. She slipped from his life, and he knew nothing would make her put her wild ways in the past and settle down with, or was it settle for, Ellis. 1 year faded into the next, and before he knew it, Ellis McHenry was the project manager for a secret program. It was a joint effort by the Department of Defense, NASA, and the National Security Department. For reasons he'd only later discover, the existence of this program was hush-hush. When he began on the project, the concept was purely theoretical. A question of, could we do this? Only after his team created breakthrough advancements did Ellis realize the immediacy of his work. Dr. McHenry, you've done excellent work. Now the time has come for us to put your creation into action. Other teams have focused on other aspects of the big picture, and now the time has come to put all the pieces together. I'm a little confused, sir. Just what is this about? What I'm about to tell you is top secret. You must tell no one about this. I understand, sir. Earth is facing a cataclysm, unlike any mankind has ever witnessed. We haven't notified the public because, well, we don't want widespread panic. We can't save even 1% of the world's population, so there is no sense in breaking the bad news to everyone. We are equipped to save 5,000 before the world comes to an end. Stunned, Ellis stood quietly, taking in what he'd been told. Do you have any questions? Yes, I do. What exactly is going to happen to Earth? An asteroid, one that we cannot stop, is hurtling toward our planet. Next Tuesday, at approximately 8:53 a.m. Eastern Time, it will strike southeastern Canada. A fireball will erupt, sweeping across the planet, incinerating everything in its path. No one on Earth will survive it. It will be complete devastation. Ellis, of course, immediately thought of Glory. How will you determine who will be saved? We have already predetermined who will be aboard the spacecraft that leaves our atmosphere well ahead of the impact. Ellis winced. Don't worry, Dr. McHenry. You are one of the lucky 5,000. Can anyone be added? Please, I have someone I treasure. Please let her come too. The man stood, contemplating his answer. I'm not supposed to do this, Mr. McHenry. You've played a vital role in this mission, however. The flight leaves early in the morning on Tuesday. We will leave before the asteroid makes impact, but we are trying to give the passengers as much time as possible to prepare without drawing attention to the flight. If you can arrange for this person to accompany you at that time, I will give you special clearance to allow her aboard. Ellis nearly hugged the man, but the official was clearly not the affectionate type. Thank you, sir. Get your affairs in order. With that, the man turned and walked away. Ellis rushed to his phone and dialed the last number he had for Glory.
This number has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Frantically, Ellis tried every number, including her parents, with no luck. An attempt to email was rebounded back to him with a message that it was undeliverable. Ellis remembered her parents' address by heart, so he decided to send a letter using Overnight Express in hopes of reaching her in time. He sat at his desk and thought carefully about what he should write. Dearest Glory, I'm writing to you in great urgency. You must know that I have loved you since we were 5 years old. I would do anything and sacrifice anything for you. I know you may not feel the same way I do, but I'm writing to you out of devotion. And if you feel even a fraction of the love I have for you toward me, please meet me before Tuesday at the address on this envelope. I want to give you and us a future. Forever loving you, Ellis. With trembling hands, he addressed the envelope and rushed to the post office, which promised guaranteed delivery by the next day. As the hours and days passed, drawing closer and closer to Tuesday, Ellis could scarcely focus on his own preparations as he paced and prayed for Glory's response. It never came. At 5 a.m. Eastern Time, the rocket ship carrying the only survivors from Earth launched in the pre-dawn sky. Ellis watched Earth through the porthole in his pod, morose over the fact he'd heard nothing in return from Glory. I was foolish to think she could love me. A tear rolled down his cheek as he realized the wasted effort he'd made for over 30 years, loving a girl who never wanted him. On Earth, while the world still slept, and no one knew the destruction looming on the horizon, Glory Wilkerson pulled her car into her parents' driveway. Tired, with sleepy eyes, and the numbness of spirit that comes from a long drive with little rest, she quietly made her way into her childhood home. Her parents, Lyle and Penny Wilkerson, still slept peacefully in their beds. Glory set her keys on the coffee table and noticed an envelope that was waiting for her. She recognized the handwriting immediately, and she tore open the envelope. After reading it, she clutched it to her chest, berating herself for waiting so long to be honest, to herself and to Ellis, about the love she'd always felt for him. She recalled the first time they met, their carefree days of childhood, their almost love affair as teenagers, and the grief brought by their separation for so many years. Glory looked at the address and knew what she had to do. She knew she could reach Ellis in no more than half an hour, and while the note said for her to meet him before Tuesday, she hoped he would grant her the grace of showing up, albeit a little late. Happy tears trickled down her face. She finally had the chance to right the wrongs she'd committed against Ellis. Her foolish denial of her feelings had hurt him so, and she was going to make it up to him. It's still early, 8:52. I won't ever leave you again, Ellis McHenry. I'm coming to you. Clutching the envelope, she stepped onto the porch of her parents' house in time to see a blinding light. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Into the Night Anthology podcast, written by Caroline Giammanco, narrated by Nari, theme music by Nico Rodriguez. You can find our links in the show notes. Into the Night is on your favorite podcatcher, so make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review to help other excursionists to join us. I'll see you next time, and remember, whether in the shadows or in the daylight, all twisted paths lead you into the night. Hi, excursionists. I'm so glad you stayed. If you ever wonder what I'm working on when I'm not here, you can find my current and past projects at narinarrates.com. That's also where you can sign up to be a story in my library, where every story somehow finds its way back home.